Good morning, everyone. So we're going to begin now, so thank you everyone for attending today. This meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is being called to hear applications under the Planning Act for minor variances and/or consents. This is a statutory public meeting. Anyone having an interest in any of these applications may make oral or written submissions for the committee's consideration. This committee will then render a verbal decision on this date, and the agent or its applicant will receive a copy of the committee's decision in writing via email 10 days before the meeting. The process for each individual application will remain the same. City staff will introduce the application. Then myself or Madam Clerk will advise the committee of any late written submissions that the committee will take into consideration, and I assure the public that we've received all your letters and have reviewed them carefully. The chair will then confirm with the applicant or the agent whether or not they are in support of the city position. I will then, at that point, invite parties in opposition to make oral submissions, if any. I kindly ask that parties in opposition avoid repeating comments that previous oral submissions have already made. And I also ask that parties in opposition state their first and last name for the minutes. At that point, my fellow committee members and myself may ask questions of the parties providing opposition, and then I will invite the agent or the applicant to make comments. Finally, my fellow committee members will then ask staff and the applicant any further questions, which the last step will be my fellow committee members and I will either move to approve, reject, or defer individual applications. So the first order of business today is to approve the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment for the meeting held on July 18, 2023, as circulated. If I can get a mover for that motion. Yep. Member Gundrum, can I get a second? Member McCall, thank you. So all in favor of Member Gundrum's motion to approve the minutes? Pass unanimously, so thank you everyone. And then finally, the second order of business is to, I ask that any of my fellow members declare if they have any pecuniary interests regarding any of the applications listed in the agenda. And I'm positive that there isn't, so thank you. At this point, I ask the agent or applicant for A 2023-084, please come forward. That's 151 Frederick Street. And then when staff's ready, please introduce.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This application for 151 Frederick Street was deferred from our last committee meeting, given that the applicant was not able to attend. This is a minor variance to permit a restaurant patio to be located 22 meters from a residentially zoned property instead of the minimum required 30 meters. Staff have reviewed the variance in light of the four tests of the Planning Act, finds that it meets all four, and is recommending approval.
Thank you, staff. You're welcome to sit on this chair to my right beside you. Yep. Yeah, thank you. And then I just ask that you please state your name for the record. Make sure you push the little speak button and then state whether or not you've had the opportunity to review the staff report. Speak button. Yep, there you go.
My name is Mohammed Mamoon, and I'm the owner of the Three Kittens restaurant, which has been here for almost 30 years now. So we are asking for the patio permit, which needs little minor variance, and I have read the city's thing, and all looks to be good, so I'm here to get the support to make the patio happen.
Thank you, sir. At this point, if there's any members of the public who wish to provide opposition, I don't believe there are. Do my committee members want to ask any questions of the applicant or staff? Yeah, Member Hanna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a huge fan of outdoor patios, just to start off, but do you have any intentions of having music on the patio, and what are your hours of operation going to be?
So there will be no music in the patio. We have a 3,000 square feet restaurant in the basement. We do have some music sometimes, but not in the patio. The hours will be in the only summertime, and it will be in the daytime up until 8 o'clock in the night.
Thank you, Member Hanna. Member McCall?
Yeah, just very quickly, I used to live on Irvin Street, and the restaurant on the corner first started going when it was the Rathskeller, so that probably dates me very well. Great restaurant. Haven't been there since before the pandemic, but now that that's letting up, you may see me at your restaurant, and maybe even your patio. So I'm very much in support of this.
Thank you, Mr. Nicole. And we have done a big renovation in the last 2 years, so anybody would come will see a different restaurant than before.
Can I get a motion on the floor? I don't think there's any further. Yep, Member Hanna.
Yeah, I'm prepared to move the staff recommendation. I think the owner's shown good respect for the residents in terms of his, well, how he's going to operate the patio, so I move the staff motion.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Yep, Member McCall, seconds. I don't think there's any debate, so all in favor of the motion on the floor? And it passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest.
Can I please get the agent or applicant for A 2023-088, that's 52 Earl Street, to please come forward? And can I have staff introduce this application?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for 52 Earl Street. They're requesting a minor variance for a reduction of the rear yard from 7.5 meters to 5.5 meters. And this is to facilitate the construction of an addition at the rear of the existing detached dwelling. Staff have reviewed the variance in light of the four tests of the Planning Act and finds that it meets all four and is recommending approval.
Thank you very much. Can the agent or applicant state their name for the record and whether they're in support of the staff recommendation?
My name is Lester Brubaker. I am the applicant, and yes, we are in support. The planner did a very good job of writing up the report.
Thank you. At this point, if there's any members of the public who wish to provide oral submissions, I ask them to come forward. And I don't believe that there are. At this point, then, if the applicant had any comments you wish to provide for the committee for their consideration, you're free to do so. Any further comments? Sorry.
No further comments.
No, thank you. So I open the floor to my members. No questions? No? So then I look forward to a motion. Yep, Member McCall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is fairly straightforward. I move that this application be approved as per the staff report.
Yeah, second. Yep, Member Hanna, thanks for a second. So then all in favor of the motion? Yep, passes unanimously, so thank you.
Thank you.
Can I please have the applicant or agent for A 2023-089 please come forward? That's 204 Fifth Avenue. And then can staff please introduce the application?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for 204 Fifth Avenue. The variance is to permit a reduced lot width, so going from 13.1 meters to 10.6 meters. This is to facilitate an additional dwelling unit. The building is now currently being used as a duplex, proposed to go as a triplex, and requires the lot width variance. Staff reviewed the variance in light of the four tests of the Planning Act, subject to some conditions, finds that it meets all four tests, and is recommending approval again to those conditions.
Thank you very much, staff. Has the applicant, can you state your name for the record and whether or not you're in support of the staff recommendation?
Yeah, good morning. My name is Rafi Tashjan. I'm the applicant of 204 Fifth Avenue owners, and I support the report. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I assure the public that we have received your written submissions and we've reviewed them carefully. And if there's any members who wish, or any members of the public who wish to provide oral submissions, I ask them to come forward. And I don't believe there are. Did you want to provide any comments for the committee's consideration?
No?
No. Thank you. So I open the floor to my members to ask questions of staff. Yeah, Member Hanna.
Just have a question first for the applicant. Were you involved at the original severance, taking down the detached dwelling and building the two lots? So you just purchased the duplex?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
I had a question for staff. So I appreciate the commentary regarding the driveway, and I'm just a little confused how we can get, the lack of a better word, get the driveway fixed and in line with the bylaw. I'm not sure how this committee can deal with that.
So the driveway, as it stands right now, it does not meet zoning requirements, so it's not conformity with the zoning bylaw. So in order to consider this variance, staff is recommending that as a condition, that the driveway be put into a condition that meets the zoning bylaw so that there is a distinguishable walkway separated from the driveway. So as a condition of approval, the driveway must be modified in order to meet the zoning bylaw.
Okay, thank you. No, thank you. If there's any further questions, we should go to debate. Yeah, Member Hanna. Member Santos, sorry.
Yeah, just reading the commentary though too, there seem to be concerns over parking, especially if there's an additional unit within the property. And even one neighbor talking about a retaining wall. That's not mentioned at all within the package. In terms of parking.
Retaining wall?
Yeah, like that, in terms of drainage as far as parking. That's the only concern it seems is with more people there, an additional unit and parking.
So as the bylaw is, every unit has to have one parking spot, and we designed that way. The drainage is already, the existing one is already like with the requirements. I don't think so there is a problem. And the tenants plus resident to have like a agreement where they need to park their vehicles. I don't think so. That's something with the neighbors.
Member Hanna?
Yeah, I just want to, in terms of history, I recall this application because there was a detached dwelling that was removed to accommodate two duplex dwellings on each side. We're dealing with the one side, obviously, today. I'm a huge fan of intensification as long as it's functional. So we've had one house removed and 4 units built. I'm struggling with this one. I'm moved by the letter from the resident that already lives there, talking about the parking shuffle that we're going to have to take place, that already takes place. So when the time comes, Mr. Chairman, I am not going to be supporting this application.
Thanks, Member Hanna. I think we need to get to debate then, it sounds like. So if I look forward to a motion, it doesn't have to be approved, but just so we can get to debate. Yeah, Member Gundrum?
Through the chair, I'll put forward a motion to approve the application with the recommended staff conditions.
Thanks, Member Gundrum. Can I get a second? Yeah, Member Santos, thank you. So the floor is open for debate. I'll get it going. Member Hanna, can you please reiterate, because I'm on the fence a little bit. Like you said, I read the letter about the retaining wall and the parking, and likewise, I'm a little concerned. So, I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Okay, certainly. Actually, it's funny because I remember this application when the applicant came forward. I said, please don't widen your driveway because it's a very narrow lot, and of course they did widen the driveway. And if staff gets their way, they're going to narrow the driveway to make it comply, but in doing so, you're going to have a strip of 3 or 4 cars in a row, and if you've got 3 tenants, somebody has an emergency, you got to flip things back and forth, and the fellow that's already there says, he works nights. So again, I'm a huge fan of intensification, but as long as it's functional, and this one will not be functional.
Anything further from my other members? Yes. So all in favor of the motion on the floor? Yes. And then all opposed to the motion on the floor? So the motion fails and the application is not approved. So it was Member Pateman for, and then Member Hanna, Santos, Gundrum, and McColl against. And Madam Clerk, do we get that? Yeah, thank you. So the application is refused. So thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. The thing is, the density of everywhere is increasing, and we will going to have the same problem. So get ready. Thank you.
At this point, could I please have the applicant for A 2023-090, that's 256 Benninger Drive. Sorry if I said that wrong. Can staff please introduce the application and tell me how to say the street name properly?
Thank you, Chair. This is an application for 256 Benninger Drive, and this is a 2-part variant, so requesting 2 minor variances, one to increase the maximum permitted parking on site, so to go from 1.4 parking spaces or 40 to 1.6 or 45 parking spaces, and they're requesting a reduction of the rear yard, so from 7 meters to 1.2 meters. They have submitted a site plan application under review and has received conditional approval. Staff have reviewed the variances in light of the 4 tests of the Planning Act and finds that it meets all 4 and is recommending approval of both variances.
Thank you, staff. So can the applicant or agent state his name for the record and whether he's in support of the staff recommendation?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Pierre Chauvin with MHBC Planning, here in support of the application and had a chance to review the staff report, and we still support the recommendation.
Thank you, sir. At this point, I open the floor to any members of the public who wish to provide oral comment, and I don't believe there are. So if the agent wished to provide any comments for the committee's consideration, I welcome it.
No, sir, I have no further comments.
Thank you. So if I open the floor to my fellow members, if they have any questions of staff for the applicant, I think it's pretty straightforward. So if not, I look forward to a motion. Yep, Member McCall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is fairly straightforward. It isn't very often we see a request to increase parking, and that's kind of interesting. And the rear yard setback is very minor, so I move that this be approved as per the staff report.
Thank you. Can I second? Yep. Member Gundrum, second. Thank you. Very minor, so I don't think there's any debate here. So all in favor of the motion on the floor? And it passes unanimously, so thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this point, can I please have the applicant for A 2023-091, that's 181 Weber Street East. Can I have staff please introduce this application as well?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for 181 Weber Street East, requesting two minor variances, one for the front yard setback, so to go from 3.8 to 2.6, to facilitate the reconstruction of the covered porch in a second-story addition, and then a reduction of the rear yard setback from 7.5 to 6.8 to facilitate the construction of a rear yard single-story addition. Staff have reviewed the variances in light of the four tests. The Planning Act finds that it meets all four and is recommending approval.
Thank you very much, staff. Can the applicant or agent state his name for the record and whether he's in support of the staff recommendation?
Ian Kent, and yes, I'm in support of it.
Thank you. So at this point, I open the floor to any members of the public who wish to provide comments, and I don't think there are, so floor is open to my fellow members. Yep, Member Hanna.
Just a quick question for the applicant. It's going to remain a detached dwelling, or are you looking to duplex at some point?
No, it's very much a single-family home.
Thank you.
So in that case, a motion. Member Gudger?
Through the chair, I'll put forward a motion to approve the application, and just a side note, I think that what you're doing facing the street is appropriate to the streetscape through that area. It will blend really well, and I don't think the setback's an issue, so I'm putting forward a motion to approve. So.
And Member Hanna, second? So Member Hanna, second, and Member Gundrum's comments exactly. So all in favor of the motion? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I please have the applicant for A 2023-092, that's 68 Rushbrook Drive, please come forward, and then when staff's ready, please introduce the application.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for 68 Rushbrook Drive. This variance is to permit two parking spaces to be located within 6 meters of the property line or street line instead of the maximum permitted one parking space. This is to facilitate the conversion of the existing single detached dwelling into a single detached dwelling with two additional dwelling units, so a single to a triplex. Staff have reviewed the variance in light of the four tests of the Planning Act and finds that it meets all four and is recommending approval.
Thank you very much, staff. Can the applicant or agent state his name for the record and if he's in support of the staff recommendation?
Hi, my name is Kamal Mangan, and yeah, I'm in support of the staff report.
Thank you. At this point, if there's any members of the public who wish to provide comment, I welcome them to step forward. And I don't believe there are, so if the applicant, if you wish to provide any comments for my committee's consideration, you're free to do so now.
No comments.
No, thank you. So I open the floor to my fellow members for questions of staff and the applicant. No, if not, I look forward for a motion. Yeah, Member Hanna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am prepared to move the staff recommendation. I like this application because of the width of the lot. It's going to be functional. Even with the increased driveway width, it'll fit nicely into the neighborhood. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Member Hanna. So I look forward to a second on the motion. Yep, Member Gundrum seconds. I don't think there's going to be any debate. So all in favor of the motion on the floor? Yeah. It passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, can I please have the applicant for A 2023-093 please come forward? That's 460 Highland Road West. And can staff please introduce this application?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for 460 Highland Road West. It's a reduction of the minimum side yard, interior side yard setback, going from 3 meters to 0.9 meters, and this is to maintain the existing setback of the existing building. The building received a minor variance back in 1994 to permit this 0.9 meters. It was a variance to zoning bylaw 85-1. So in order to maintain the same setback, another new variance is required. A site plan application has been submitted and has received conditional approval. Staff have reviewed the variance in light of the 4 tests of the Planning Act, finds that it meets all 4 and is recommending approval.
Thank you very much. Can the agent please state his name for the record and whether he's in approval or agreeance with the staff recommendation?
Good morning, committee. Scott Patterson here in support.
Thank you. At this point, if there's any members of the public who wish to provide comments, I invite them forward, and I don't believe there are. So if the agent wished to provide any comments for the committee's consideration, I welcome them.
Just if the committee sees fit to support the application, that we only grant the variance based on 1 decimal point. The public noted 0.94. I'd like to just have it at 0.9. 0.94 is very specific.
Thank you. So if my members had any questions of the applicant or the staff? No? Can I please get a motion then? Yeah, Member Gundry.
Through the chair, I'll put forward a motion to approve with the modification of a 0.9 meter setback rather than 0.94, as per the applicant's comments.
Yeah, Member Hanna, were you to second, or?
I'm going to second, but also indicate that the resolution is correct as it is. It's 0.9.
Yeah, I'm a little confused right now.
All right.
So the note, all right, so was the notice incorrect? So that, okay, yeah. So then we need a new motion.
It says 0.94 on the agenda. Yeah, but the resolution says 0.9, so.
Can Madam Clerk?
This is what we're dealing with.
No?
Okay. Sorry, I'll put forward, through the chair, I'll put forward a motion as per the staff recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Member. I'm sorry about that. Then can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Member Hanna. So to approve for 0.9 as the staff recommendation, I don't think there's going to be any debate. So all in favor of the 0.9? Yep, it's approved. Thank you. And sorry for the confusion, everyone. Could I please have the applicant or agent for A 2023-094 please come forward? That's 39 3rd Avenue. And can staff please introduce the application when ready?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for 39 3rd Avenue. The 3 variances are being requested to allow for a parking lot to be 0.5 meters instead of the minimum required 1.5 meters from a lot line, to permit an addition to have an interior side yard setback of 1.6 instead of the minimum required 3 meters, and to permit a floor space ratio of 0.63 instead of the maximum permitted 0.6. And these variances are to facilitate the addition to an existing single detached dwelling with 2 additional dwelling units attached, so an existing triplex, and convert it into a 4-unit multiple dwelling. This is in accordance with drawings prepared by Bobicon Custom Home Design. Staff have reviewed the variances in light of the 4 tests. The Planning Act finds that it meets all 4 and is recommending approval.
Thank you very much, staff. Can the agent or applicant please state his name for the record and if he's in support of the recommendation?
Good morning. My name is Boban Jokanovic. I'm the applicant. I'm in support of this application.
Thank you, sir. If there's any members of the public who wish to provide comment, I welcome them to come forward, and I don't believe there are. So if the applicant wishes to provide any comments for the committee, I might also welcome any comments for our consideration.
I have no comments. I think everything is self-explanatory unless you guys have some questions for me.
Thank you. So then, as the applicant says, any questions of my fellow members? Yeah, Member Hanna?
Just real quick, when I did the drive-by, because I wasn't able to go on the property, is the board fence, does it wrap around the back of the property too?
Yes, it is.
There is existing? Okay, thanks.
If there's no other questions, a motion? Member Santos?
I'll make the motion as presented. There's 3 variances here, but they're all minor, and we're going from 3 units to 4. So I like this, and I'll make the motion to approve as recommended.
Thank you, Member Santos. And Member Hanna, second. And
yeah, I'm going to just make a couple comments too, Mr. Chairman. I think this is a very well-designed project. Like I say, it's going to be perfectly functional. You're not going to be able to see the addition from the street, so the streetscape is going to remain unchanged. Well-designed. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I did that.
All in. All second? So all in favor of the motion on the floor? And it passes unanimously, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I please have the applicant for A 2023-095 please come forward? That's 64 Garden Avenue. And can staff please introduce this application?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for a reduction of the minimum required rear yard setback, going from 7.5 meters to 4.9 meters. This is to facilitate the construction or reconstruction of an addition to the rear of the existing single detached dwelling. The existing addition is in need of some repair, so proposing to be demolished and replaced with a new addition. Thus, the minor variance is required. Staff have reviewed the variance in light of the four tests of the Planning Act and finds that it meets all four and is recommending approval.
Thank you very much, staff. Can the applicant or agent please state their name for the record and if they're in support of the staff recommendation?
Good morning. Derek Peter. I'm here in support of the recommendation.
Thank you. If there's any members of the public who wish to provide comment, I welcome them to come forward, and I don't think there are. So if the applicant wish to provide comments for this committee's consideration, I welcome them.
No additional comments?
Thank you. So I'll open the floor to my members to ask questions of staff and the applicant. No? So if not, I motion on the floor. Member Gundry?
Through the chair, I'll put forward a motion to approve as per staff recommendation.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Yep, Member Santos, second. Thank you. Unless there's any debate, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor of the motion on the floor? And passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Can I please get the applicant or agent for A 2023-096 to please come forward? That's 1020 Ottawa Street North. And can staff please introduce this application when she's ready?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for 1020 Ottawa Street North. This is a minor variance to permit a drive-through facility to be located 5.7 meters from a residential zone instead of the minimum required 7.5 meters. The 7.5 meters does require an acoustic barrier certified by a professional engineer abutting the lot line, and that will be maintained. Staff have reviewed a site plan application, which is currently in process. Staff has reviewed the minor variance, finds that it meets the four tests of the Planning Act, and is recommending approval.
Thank you, staff. Can the agent please state his name for the record and whether he's in support of the staff recommendation?
Good morning, members of committee. My name is Oz Kamal. I'm with MHBC Planning, in support of the application per staff's recommendation.
Thank you, sir. And I assure the public that we have received the written petition, and this committee has reviewed it. If there's any other members of the public here to provide comment, I welcome them to come forward. I don't think there's anyone here to provide oral comments, so then, sorry about that. Please come step on my left and on your right, and then sit in the very first chair. Yep, the very first chair on the left, on you. That's the one, yep. And then when you're ready to go, push the speak button, the red light will come on, and then please state your name for the record.
So I'm here to represent...
We can't quite hear you, just move the mic up to your, there you go, yeah, thank you.
Is that better? Okay, so my name's Nada. I'm here to represent my parents who are here and they're residents of 123 Breckenridge Drive, as well as the neighborhood, many of which couldn't attend due to work, and we had a few on vacation, which is why we submitted the petition in written form. So we're opposed to this proposed drive-through shortening the setback because of the noise pollution. So the current noise pollution that we experience with the laneway and the two existing driveways is tolerable, but some of the daily things that we hear is cars revving, cars honking their horns. We can hear everybody ordering their meals and, you know, the conversation between the staff person and the person in their car. And this is with the current two driveways, which are set back a little bit from the actual fence line. And even there's a McDonald's drive-through as well that has some sort of like landscaping, you know, for to be attractive, and then also it does create a buffer, and we can still hear it even with that. So if you were to approve something that was even closer to the residential areas, it would just increase the noise. And then we did see that there was a acoustic wall, or that was proposed, a sound barrier, but we don't think that it would help. It would maybe only help if you were right in the backyard, like on the grass. But if you're anywhere sort of up elevated, up on the second floor, you can hear everything, even with the windows closed. Like we can still, especially at night, when the I guess the ambient traffic noise of the street around kind of dies down, you can really hear the communication between people ordering their food. And so we just assume that it will just exacerbate that problem. And we were looking online, and it does look like it's a double lane drive-through that's being proposed, which will just increase again the traffic. So we're basically just here to oppose it. We're not opposed to the development of the area. We do frequent that plaza. We like it, and we know it's busy. We just are not. We are opposed to having it so close to the residential line, and then also potentially like the use of the laneway as sort of an entrance and an exit point for the actual cars moving in.
Thank you for the excellent and well-prepared comments. So if I open the floor to my members, if they wish to ask questions of the opposition. Yeah, Member Hanna?
Just real quick, so I'm sure I'm accurate here. You said you were 123 Breckenridge, and that's kind of directly in behind the former Shoppers. That's the way I've got it kind of aligned.
Yes, I do have a printed out like a copy. If I don't know if it's helpful, we can show it if you want to pass it around, but we would be directly impacted along with our neighbors. And then there's also some neighbors, so we are...
Yeah, we've got an airflow. I just want to make sure I have that.
Okay.
So it's all good. And just a second question. How long have you resided, or your parents resided there?
What year?
2005. Okay.
2003. So quite a long time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wish to provide any other questions to the opposition? No? Were there any other members of the public that also wish to provide comments? If not, I open the floor to the applicant or agent to make any comments.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. So this is the plaza where Shoppers used to be. It was a Taco Bell, KFC at that existing building. It's they've all been vacated. The current owner, North American Development Group, is currently working through a site plan application to try and bring new tenants to the center to help revitalize it. It is starting to, the tenants do seem to be leaving. The existing drive-through and the setback that we are requesting is an existing setback. We're not asking for a new setback. It's 5.75 today. It's 5.75 after. The way that it's been designed with the double drive-through is that there's the one lane is going to be closer to the building side versus the house side. So the drive-through setback's the same. As well, we've provided an engineer's report through the site plan application that does speak to the need for a 48-meter long, 2.4-meter tall noise acoustical barrier. That'll be a solid barrier. That's not going to be wood. Currently at the back of the site, it's a board-on-board fence, and it's not in very good shape. This will help, I think, address the noise issue because it'll get it within MOE guidelines. It'll also, I think, address some of the other comments that I saw here with respect to garbage and things of that nature that might float through a board-on-board fence versus an insulated panel fence because it'll be solid. I know the city staff have reviewed it. Again, this is our client's attempt to help revitalize the plaza. So we do look for the committee's indulgence in approving an existing setback variance in this instance. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I open the floor to my fellow members to ask questions of staff. Member Santos got his hand up first, I think.
Sorry, Member Hanna there. I appreciate the comments regarding the acoustic wall to reduce noise. Is there any indication if there's a tenant that you know is going to go in there and what their hours might be, or be it 24 hours? Just, it seems like most of the concern here from the opposition is regarding noise.
Yeah, my understanding, I was asking about any lease deals. The lease is, the lease deal is essentially signed here. It's not going to be a 24-hour facility. So it would be at most the same as McDonald's, which I think closes at around 11.
Member Hanna.
So there is an existing drive-through for the KFC Taco Bell, and it looks like this is replacing that. Is that the case?
Correct.
So why the need for the double drive-through?
The double drive-through is because of part of it is zoning bylaw requirements for drive-through queuing spaces, and B, expected use of the drive-through.
Okay, very familiar with the plaza. I've never seen that many cars there, so. And quick question, the Building F expansion, that's not going to require a drive-through, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and maybe a question either for yourself or staff. The 48-meter-long acoustical fence, we've got a little blow-up of the area. Can you identify where that's going to be?
I have a different site plan that shows a dotted line that shows the extent of the acoustical barrier. It's basically going to go, you know how...
Is it along the lot line?
It's going to be on our property along the lot line, along that angle.
Just inside the fence?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I had a question for staff. When I read the recommendation from the staff report and what we're going to be likely move, I don't see a mention of the acoustic barrier. Is that just handled with the site plan? Is that why the committee's not handling that?
That's a requirement of the 7.5 meter setback. So with requesting the reduction of the 7.5, which requires the acoustical barrier, it's the same. It's just a different setback as it relates to that barrier.
So regardless, if the committee says no, you can only get 6 meters, it would still, the requirement would still be to exist? Okay, thank you. If no other questions, I look forward to a motion. Yeah, Member Hanna?
I'm going to move the staff recommendation. I've got a couple comments, though, if I get a seconder.
Can I get a second? Yeah, Member Sandro's second, and I think Member Hanna, I'll give the floor back to you.
All right, now we're into a debate. I'm supporting the application from the perspective of, and I appreciate the comments coming from the folks who have shown up today and also the letter that we received. But it's pretty much an existing situation, and I look at the way staff is treating this, that it actually may be a better situation in the long run. There is no acoustical fence there now. There is a drive-through there now. And I think in the long and short of it, it's a commercial plaza. That's why I asked the question, when did you move in? People who moved into this area knew there was a commercial plaza there in the first place. So, but I do think it's going to be a better situation.
Member Gundry?
Through the chair, I have a question through to the applicant. You mentioned the height of the acoustical barrier is 2.4 meters. That's going to be consistent regardless of topographical changes along where the barrier will be, correct?
Correct. It'll be a 2.4 meter high, consistent across the lot.
Okay, thank you.
Any further debate? No?
Yeah, I'm going to vote in favor of this. I just, I know there's going to be more traffic, but I think it's going to be a better situation with an acoustic wall versus a fence. And for that reason, I'm going to be voting in favor of this motion.
So I think we're ready to go. So all in favor of the motion on the floor? So it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Can I please have the agent or applicant for A 2023-097, that's 68 Betzner Avenue North, please come forward, and can staff introduce this application as well?
Thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for 68 Betzner Avenue North. Three minor variances. One to permit a reduced lot area from 395 to 310, to permit a reduced lot width from 13.1 to 11.6, There's also a third minor variance to recognize and permit an existing second driveway, and also to permit that parking space in that second driveway to have a minimum length of 4.3 instead of 5.5. Staff have reviewed all variances, is recommending approval of the lot area and lot width variance, finds that those two variances meet the four tests of the Planning Act. Staff is unable to support the minor variance for the second driveway and the length of that parking space, and is recommending refusal of that minor variance.
Thank you, staff. Can the applicant or agent please state his name for the record and whether he's in support of the staff recommendation?
Good morning, Chair and committee members. Thank you. My name is Adam Arifi. I am one of the owners. My brother is the other owner of this residence. I'm not sure how to respond. I am in favor of the variance, except for the parking spot. I would like to discuss it if possible.
No, I think my committee understands, yeah. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate what you're trying to say. We'll split it that way. And if there's any members of the public who wish to come forward and make comment, I welcome them to come forward. I'm satisfied there isn't, so I open the floor back to you, sir, to provide comments for our consideration.
Great, thank you very much. As I stated, we are at the avails of the committee. If the parking spot needs to go, we're fine with that. It's just, it's my brother and myself that own this property. We're not a development company. Any expense that we can spare on the other end is great for us. Some stuff that I did figure out while I was looking through, and I looked through the report, so a couple things that I've noticed is when I was preparing the application, there was some aerial photographs. Now I don't remember if they're from '03 or 2008, which is 19 and 14 years ago. And this second parking spot was existing. It was there at that time. Now, we've just purchased this property as of like 2 months ago. I have, since that time, met the neighbor at 64, which this connects to. Grace has advised that she's fine with it. It's been that way since they purchased it, which was approximately 7 years ago. And I know in the report, it states that there was a ticket that was, I think a bylaw ticket that was given out on November of 2022. So if those photographs are, whether it's a 2003 time or 2008 time, you're talking in 14 years or 19 years, there's been one bylaw offense issued for this parking spot. Much like the parking downstairs, we have lease agreements that we will have with all our tenants. The tenant that we assign that parking space to, we will make sure that they have a compact car that fits there to not overlap the sidewalk.
No, thank you for your comments. I open the floor to my committee members to ask any questions of staff or the applicant. Yep, Member Hanna.
Yeah, just a quick question for the applicant. If the committee in its wisdom were to support the staff recommendation and refuse that little parking spot, are you still prepared to proceed with the triplex with 3 cars stacked in the driveway?
Yes. Yeah. And I should add, sorry, that we, I think it says in the report, there is going to be no change to the existing residence whatsoever. Its footprint will be exactly the same. It's an existing basement, and we're just basically renovating that basement. That's it. So.
Thank you, Member Hanna. So I think we'll go to debate. I have comments for debate, not for that. Yeah, Member Hanna, question.
Just a quick question for staff. I just want to make sure I'm correct that if we refuse the second part of the resolution, the triplex can still take place. It'll still need parking?
That's correct. They can provide 3 tandem parking spaces.
Thank you, staff. So then, again, looking for a motion so we can go to debate. Member McCall?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Before we get into that, I've got a couple of comments, or maybe we should do it in proper order. I move that this be approved as per the staff report.
Can I get a second? Yeah, Member Hanna, second, and then Member McCall start the debate.
Okay, now that we've got the motion on the floor, I don't see a problem with this second parking spot. I know there's a photograph in the package that shows where is that? Shows a car over blocking the sidewalk. I'm not sure that's 100% accurate. I can't really tell what kind of car that is. Both my car and my wife's car are 4.3 and 4.5 meters in length. My truck, of course, is much larger. You would not be able to put a truck in there, but I went to Google Street View and took a picture, or a screen capture, if committee members want to see this. There's a VW Golf parked in there, in that parking spot, and there's easily 3 feet between the end of the bumper of the VW and the sidewalk. It is a usable parking space, not so much for a Greyhound bus. But I guess my question is, I'm in support of this extra parking space. Can the committee control what kind of car goes in there? I didn't think so, but the landlord can. Staff's not going to comment on that. I'm assuming that, from what you have said, that you will make sure whoever is going to be occupying that parking space is not driving a great big Mack truck.
Absolutely, and I should add as well that there are tenants there now that own a Toyota Matrix, and when that's parked there, it's the same sort of thing, right? There's tons of room, and as I mentioned, in the lease agreement, if they're continuing to stay with us, which it sounds like, they will be assigned that spot with that Toyota Matrix, and we'll just make it blatantly clear to all the other tenants that nobody else is to park in that space.
And I guess, Mr. Chair, if they do start parking extra large vehicles in that spot, they'll get a ticket.
Can I see the picture, Member McCall? No, I want to see a screenshot because I haven't looked since Friday night. Thank you.
I was there on Sunday. I know.
Yeah. Yeah, Member Hanna?
I'm going to take a kind of a harder line on this. I'm going to support the staff recommendation as is. I'm doing so because the applicant can still provide a triplex here. I think given the location, he can also control parking for the tenants because there's easy access to the Ion, easy access to all those wonderful transportation things that we want. But I support staff in saying, whoever put this parking space in did it without permission. I think it's a dangerous precedent. I went up and down that street. There's nobody else that's done this. And as you say, I don't like to see front yards with asphalt. So that's why I'm siding with staff. And I appreciate, Bob, your comments. I was kind of on the fence for a while, but I think I'm still going to go with the staff recommendation.
Thanks, Member Hanna. I'm leaning more to Member McCall, to be frank. So if we sit here and reject the parking spot, well, practically the curb cut's already there. And if I was a tenant, I was going to continue to park. And that's where I get hung up. Yeah, Member McCall.
I thank and respect the concerns of my colleague. That's why we have discussions about this. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what else to say. The landlord has said that he can control the size of the car, so my main concern would be blocking the sidewalk, which for me is a very dangerous thing to do. I'm also not a big fan of tandem parking. If you're going to have 3 tenants all using the one driveway on the right-hand side, as was it you who mentioned earlier, if there's an incident, an accident, somebody has a heart attack, falls down the stairs, you want to get them out, you've got at least 1 or 2 cars that are going to have to be moved, and that doesn't sit well with me. So I'm going to maintain my position that this should be approved, including the driveway, existing driveway.
Thanks, Member McCall. I'm on Member McCall's side on here where I'm going to approve all 3 variances. That's where I'm leaning towards. Member Santos?
Yeah, I'm typically with Scott here with his feelings. I just live in the neighborhood, and snow clearance is an issue with the narrow lots and not much space, but the only difference here is it's already existing. So people have been dealing with it for a bit, and I think it just makes things a little bit more straightforward. For that, kind of like you swayed me there, Bob.
So I think, Madam Clerk, would we have to kill the motion on the floor because it's as recommended and then do a new motion? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Madam Clerk. So let's take the Madam Clerk's recommendation where the first set of variances, we'll vote on the first set of variances, that the, that the setbacks and the minimum lot width be approved. So we'll vote on that. So all in favor of the first two, thank you, Member McCall. All in favor of the first two variances? So that passes unanimously. And then part two has a Madam Clerk's recommendation. So we would be voting, what are we voting on, Madam Clerk? To refuse. So if you vote against, you're approving the parking spot. Okay. So if you vote no, you approve. I got it. So all in favor to refuse the parking spot. And then that's Member Hanna. And then all in favor to, okay, approve the parking spot but reject the staff recommendation. And that's Member McCall, Gundrum, Pavement, and Santos. And then Member Hanna was for the motion. So the parking spot is approved, sir. Yeah. Thank you. And
So it is good?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
And thank you for everyone's patience on this one.
I appreciate your time.
Can I please have the applicant for A 2023-098, that's 134 to 152 Shanley Street, please come forward, and can staff please introduce this application?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for 134 to 152 Shanley Street. Since the original zoning was approved to facilitate this development, the applicant would like to add an additional 5 dwelling units. Nothing is changing on the site with respect to the approved site plan. However, there's a parking variance that is required. So to permit a parking requirement of 0.64 parking spaces and 0.1 visitor parking spaces, instead of the minimum required 0.7 and 0.1 visitor parking spaces. Sorry, 0.7 parking spaces and 0.1 visitor parking spaces. There's also a variance to permit an exterior side yard setback reduction, so going from 5.8 meters to 5 meters. It is an exterior side yard variance that's being requested. Staff have reviewed 2 variances in light of the 4 tests the Planning Act finds that it meets all 4 and is recommending approval.
Thank you for the detailed explanation, staff. Can the agent please state his name for the record and whether he's in support of the staff recommendation?
Yes, thank you, Committee Chair, members of committee. My name is Victor Labreche from Arcadis, and we're the authorized applicant agent on behalf of the owner and developer here, Shannondale Properties.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to advise the public that we have received comments and we have reviewed those comments. At this point, if any members of the public wish to provide oral submissions, I invite them to come forward. And I don't think that there are anyone here, so then I invite the applicant or agent, if he wishes to provide any further comments for our consideration, we welcome them.
Thank you, Committee Chair. I'll keep my comments brief. We're here in support of the application as we've submitted and the staff recommendation report that is in accordance to our submission, and as staff has indicated, in support, and we are here to answer any questions otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the applicant or staff? Member Hanna?
Real quick, maybe staff can help too. It looks like from the staff report this went through a site-specific OPA zoning bylaw. When did that happen?
That was through the committee member Hanna. Within the last year and a half, that was completed, and we do have AIP approval in principle for that as well.
Okay, and how did you accommodate the 5 additional units? Did the building grow, or is it just all internal?
The building is maintaining always the same size as it was approved. It was internal renovations or changes to the floor plan layouts, actually precipitated by adding affordable housing units. I think a total of 15 within the project, and so some of the units got smaller as a result.
And just a quick question for staff, with your indulgence, Mr. Chair. It says in the report that the development is under construction, and when I drove by, it sure looked like, but how does it get under construction when it needs variances?
It has approval, it has approval for the previously 166 dwelling units.
So then my question for staff, like Member Hanna, I mean, I biked past it a week ago and I was looking at the hole in the ground. So if we say no today, what happens to the building?
It'll still be constructed for 166 dwelling units.
Yeah, okay. So I guess we go to debate then. Can't get a motion? Sorry, guys. Member Gunsham.
Through the chair, I'll put forward a motion to approve based on staff recommendation.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Member Hannah, second. We can enter debate. Okay. Yes, Member McCall, yeah, you have welcome comments.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just a quick question to the applicant. You mentioned there were going to be some affordable units in this. 15, I think, was the number you mentioned?
That is correct, to Member McCall.
So that's the difference between the 171 and the other
166.
Yeah. Affordable units. Good for you. I think that's fine.
Well, other than Member Hannah and I's confusion with how this got here. Oh, Member Hannah, go.
Yeah, I'm just going to add some comments. I'm fully supportive of the application. I was a little bit unsure at the beginning, but this looks like it went through a very detailed site-specific zoning bylaw amendment and official plan amendment where the neighborhood would be involved, and we're not seeing a gallery full of neighbors that are upset here. And I think what I heard from the applicant today is that basically everything's staying the same, and we're getting 5 more probably affordable units. So I think it's a great idea. And that's why I'm supporting.
Okay, thanks, Member Hannah. I think we're ready for a vote then. So all in favor of the motion on the floor? And it passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I please have the applicant for A 2023-099, that's 195 Victoria Street North, please come forward, and can staff introduce this application?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for 195 Victoria Street North. 2 minor variances, one to permit a reduced lot width, so going from 13.1 to 12.9, and a reduced lot area going from 395 to 241.8. This is to recognize the use of the property as a single detached dwelling with 2 additional dwelling units attached, so to recognize it as a triplex. Staff have reviewed the variances in light of the 4 tests of the Planning Act and notes that it meets all 4, or they both meet all 4. There is recommended conditions from Metrolink, so staff have included those in the recommendation.
Thank you, staff. Can the applicant or agent please state his name for the record and whether he's in support of the application, or the recommendation, sorry?
Yep, I'm in support. Just concerned about the onerousness of the conditions of the Metrolink and the legal timelines that would need to be in place so I can have people moved into the building. So I am in support without the conditions if possible.
And can you just state the name for the minutes, please?
And my name's Stephen Parker, and I'm the owner of the property.
Thanks, Stephen. If there's any members of the public here to provide oral comments, we welcome them. If not, I open the floor to my committee members. Member Gundry.
Through the chair, more of a question for staff. If memory serves me correct, Metrolinx asked for an easement. Could staff clarify what the nature of that easement and the rationale for that easement really is? That would be helpful for me too.
Yes, so the easement is for noise and vibration coming from the rail, so that's the requirement, the request of Metrolinx. Just to make the tenants aware that that is an issue, or could be an issue for the tenants of the building.
Okay, so follow up to that, it would be a blanket easement that applies to the entire property in that case.
That's correct, it would be a blanket easement.
Okay, thank you.
Member Hannah.
So in reading the report, it sounds like you as a good steward, you bought a property, found out you had a 3rd illegal unit.
I actually was living there.
Were you?
So yeah, I was living there until November when me and my fiance were having a child, so we had to move out of the basement for a little more space. So she's now 5 months old, so I wanted to do it properly and make it legal so I could put someone else in there to avoid having to sell the property to someone else that would do the same thing.
Perfect. So quickly, the 3rd unit was constructed without a permit. Have you approached the city about getting a permit?
Yep, absolutely. I'm working with their building department, and I should be able to meet the building code for it. I need to bring that permit before I begin the additional work, which would be a escape window, I believe, is the main item.
Yeah. Have you any intent as well to kind of re-landscape the front yard that's kind of a bit ugly?
I have been doing significant work on the front garden, but they were actually ripping up the hydro gas line through there, so they destroyed it all this year. In addition, there's a second hydro pole as well, so it's been a lot of fun. And as you can see, if you drove by, the neighbor to our left is egregious in his property maintenance, and fence repair is where I'm going next after this. So
Okay.
I am trying my best.
Oh, yeah, you're going to be happy to hear that I don't like Metrolink's conditions, so...
Thank you, Member Hanna. I think we know where everyone lies on this, so if we can get a motion on the floor. Member McCall, or you have a question? Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question to staff. This Metrolinx thing has all come forward, I guess started about a year ago. And if I understand it correctly, this environmental easement from Metrolinx is pretty much the same as the Region of Waterloo Airport noise warning clause. Am I correct in assuming that?
There are two different authorities for noise, but it's, yes, to give notice to tenants that there could be issues with noise. Region cares about the airport, and Metrolink cares about their rail line.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Member McCall. I have a comment for debate, if we can get a motion.
Okay, I move that this be approved as per the staff report.
Oh, okay. Can I get a second for that motion? Yeah, Member Gunn, second. So I'll cheat and start the debate. We voted against the Metrolinx easement in the past, and I'd hope we do it again. So I hope we can amend the, Member McCall, yeah?
I'm not sure who to ask this question to. If we, as we have done in the past, as the chair has so appropriately pointed out, we have refused the Metrolinx thing before. What are the implications for the city, and, well, I guess indirectly this committee too? Do we have the authority to refuse this, is my question. And if we do, what is Metrolinx going to do? A lot of hypothetical. If you don't want to answer, that's okay too. Those are just my questions and concerns about this Metrolinx thing, because it's the whole city. I may have mentioned when we refused this some months back that if you go that the easement distance was 300 meters from the rail lines, that's 99.785% of the whole city, including City Hall. So does City Hall need to grant an easement to Metrolinx for making noise at City Hall?
Yeah, so I can answer your question as best I can. This is for a residential use, and Metrolinx is coming forward with these recommendations quite frequently with these types of applications. Staff put forward a recommendation for you to consider. We include, if we can, the conditions of all the relevant agencies who may have some input. It is up to the committee to decide how best to approve the application with the staff recommendation. I can't advise what Metrolinx will or won't do if you don't include their condition, but staff put forward a recommendation based on good planning and based on what we get input from in terms of relevant agencies.
Member McCall?
Thank you, Chair. Follow-up to that question, and again, a question you may not want to answer. Has staff consulted with the city's lawyers on this particular matter? You don't need to tell me what the decision was. I just want to make sure you have done your due diligence on inquiring what the challenges may be.
Yes, so, I can advise that I have discussed the conditions with, general conditions in principle with our city solicitor.
Thank you.
Member Hanna.
So the motion on the floor is to approve with the conditions, and if we don't get support for that, I think the application fails. So I'm going to ask staff or the clerk to please clarify that, because if that's the case, I don't want this application to fail. We have a resident trying to do the right thing and legalize what is going to be a nice third unit. I'm hoping the mover and the shaker, in this case, will modify the resolution on the floor to say, be approved without conditions.
I asked the same as Member Hanna.
If I could add as well, my main concern is it's an existing building that's been like this. I'm not adding anything, just the basement. So it's more onerous on me if they do anything poor to affect the value of my property. It doesn't seem to be the other way around, and the house was built long before this organization was even around, pointing this direction. So in addition to the legal timelines that it would add for me getting someone in the time of need, and existing development around there, that's the main reasons I'm against it. But if I do need to, I have reached out to them and will proceed with that.
On a practical standpoint, the railroad is 160-ish years old as well. It's been there for 160 years, and the home's been there for 100-ish years. So I, like Member Hanna, I ask that the motion please be amended, but
I almost always respect Mr. Hanna's wisdom in many of these cases, and with good justification. I'm not a big fan of the Metrolinx conditions either. I'm just concerned that we may be getting ourselves into hot water here down the road. I guess I can't foretell the future, so I will amend the motion to approve this as per the staff report without any conditions.
thank you. Yeah, we need a seconder now. Yeah, we did, when we have the motions amended to the seconder, we need a new seconder.
Okay.
Thank you. Member Hanna seconds the.
I will second.
Thank you. And I'm happy if we want to put it to a vote. Yeah. So all in favor of the amended motion? And it passes unanimously. Thank you.
So just to reiterate to the applicant, that means you have the green light and you don't have to worry about Metrolinx.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time.
And I'd like to thank staff for the clear answers. Much appreciated, I assure you. I know we're tough on you sometimes. Can I please have the applicant for A 2023-100, that's 332 Prospect Avenue, please come forward? And can I have staff introduce the application?
Through you, the chair, I'm not aware of any applicants or agents in attendance for this application at this time.
Okay, thank you. So we will vote to defer for a month, Madam Clerk. Is that the move? Yep. So can I get a motion to defer this to September? Yeah, Member Gundry?
Through the chair, I'll put forward a motion to defer the application to the next meeting.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Member Hanna, second. I'm sure rigorous debate can be avoided. All in favor of the motion? I'll pass unanimously. So it'll be deferred to the September meeting. And thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I please have the applicant for A 2023-101 please come forward? That's 471 Duke Street West. And can staff please introduce the application?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a minor variance application for 471 Duke Street West. This is a minor variance to permit an accessory structure to have a height to the underside of the fascia of 4.3 meters instead of the maximum permitted 3 meters. Staff have reviewed the variance in light of the 4 tests the Planning Act finds that it meets all 4 and is recommending approval.
Thank you very much, staff. Can the applicant or agents please state their name for the records and if they're in support of the recommendation?
Yep. Trent Bauman from Menno Martin Contractor. I'm the agent, and Dana Weiner is the owner, and we're in favor.
Yeah, thank you. If there's any members of the public who wish to provide comments, I welcome them to come forward. And I don't believe there are. So if the agent wished to provide comments for the committee's consideration, I welcome them now.
Yeah, no further comments.
Thank you. So I open the floor to my committee members to ask questions of the staff and the applicant. No, it's pretty straightforward. If not, look forward for a motion. Don't everyone jump. Member Gundry?
Through the chair, I'll put forward a motion to approve as per staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Member Santos seconds. I like the application. I hope that's the end of the debate. So all in favor of the motion on the floor? It passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Can I please have the applicant for consent application B 2023-027? That's 116 Hoffman Street. Please come forward, and can staff please introduce this consent application?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a consent application to recognize 2 properties that have merged in title. 110 Hoffman Street is the religious institution, and 116 Hoffman is the residential use. So the consent application is to sever the residential use from the institutional use to be able to recognize these two properties as individual. Staff have reviewed the consent in light of provincial, regional, and city policies, finds that it meets all of those, and is recommending approval subject to conditions.
Thank you, staff. Can the applicant or agent state his name for the record and if he's in support of the staff recommendation?
Yes, good morning, David Wilkinson, and in support and confident that we can meet all the conditions recommended.
Thank you. If there's any members of the public who wish to provide oral submissions, and I don't think there are, so I open the floor to my committee members. I think Member Gundry got his hand up first.
Through the chair, a question for the applicant, for Mr. Wilkinson. I guess this is really just to rectify an inadvertent merger on title. There's no redevelopment plans or anything to follow from this, is there?
No, we're not going to be doing anything to the buildings, exactly.
Okay.
We're just wanting to sever and potentially sell long-term.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Member Hanna?
Member Gundrum answered one of the questions I had. The second question, though, is are you sure you're satisfied with all the conditions? Some of them, I think, are redundant.
Well, I mean, satisfied is maybe not the right answer, but we're willing. Yeah. Which ones exactly are you feeling are redundant?
Okay, I'm going to ask a question of staff. Which, I know this condition came from the region, but condition 8 talks about traffic on municipal streets. What streets are causing the traffic in this area?
That would have been indicated in the regional conditions. I can just pull those up.
Yeah, it's really nothing there.
So in reading the regional conditions, they had noted that the noise sources include road traffic and stationary from adjacent rooftop mechanical systems. So assuming what's on the religious institution side, so it would be the noise warning condition on the residential use to talk about the road noise, and then the HVAC equipment on the adjacent property.
Okay, the second question is for staff then. I'm also concerned about the building code assessment review, considering this was an existing lot of record. Have you checked into that to see how much that's going to cost you? Who's going to deal with it?
I haven't yet, no. And of course would love to have that removed, being that it was, as you stated, separated before.
Yeah. When it comes time to debate, just so the committee's aware, I don't like conditions 4 and 8. They don't seem to be relevant, so.
Member Gundry?
Through the chair, just on condition 8, maybe this is something staff can answer. There's a convenience store adjacent to the residential property, or either one door down. Is it perhaps due to that commercial site that condition was in part put in place, or?
It could be. I can't speak for regional staff and why they requested that condition, but based on what they've written, it looks like it's relation to rooftop mechanical equipment, HVAC equipment, and they do talk about the road noise from Hoffman Street,
Okay.
Ottawa.
Thank you.
I look forward to a motion, and I'll cheat on the debate. I ask Member Hanna put the motion forward so we don't have to do any amending. I'll just, maybe that's cheating the debate a little.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody wants to move the staff recommendation, I'm going to leave it open to that first, so let's see
there
that.
you go. I welcome any motion. Member McCall?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I've listened to my colleagues here, and there seems to be some agreement that clause number 4 and 8 are either redundant or just not applicable. So I'm going to move that this be approved, deleting condition number 4 and condition number 8. So that will give a total of 6 conditions.
And Madam Clerk, were you able to get that? Thank you, Madam Clerk.
And
It's okay.
Mr. Chair, can I make a comment about condition number 4? Just for the committee's information, this is a condition required by building because of Ontario Building Code for any creation of new lot lines. I understand that it may seem redundant and not necessary, but it is a condition the building division imposed because of Ontario Building Code. The committee has considered this condition in relation to severances in the past with new lots where the building has met the setback requirements and imposed a similar condition. Just caution the committee with respect to that condition.
Thank you, staff. Member Santos got his hand up first.
Yeah, I appreciate those comments, but this is just, seems like a lot that was inadvertently merged. So I do appreciate that, but I'm willing to, we have a second?
Oh, we did. No, sorry. I apologize. No,
Did we get a second or
I'm
not?
willing to second.
Okay, Member Santos second and gets the debate. There you go.
Okay, just I want to maybe make a comment or ask staff, or actually the applicant, just to verify that this is 2 lots that merged on title.
Yes, yes.
And it's, so there's not really, in the big scope of things, creating a new lot line.
No, it's an existing lot line that is just not official anymore, yeah.
So it's just housekeeping.
Yes, exactly.
Then I'm going to stick with my motion that number 4 not be included, and if that gets us into trouble with the building code, you folks know where I live.
Member Hanna?
Just going to make a comment just to, I guess, support what we're talking about. I have supported this condition for new lot lines. This is not a new lot line, it's an existing lot line that we're recreating. There is no permit going to be required here because we're not building a new house. If there was a permit, he's going to be stuck doing a building code assessment. There's no worries for the applicant, just to let you know.
I trust Member Hanna's expertise on many items, so. We have a second, Member Santos second, so if we're ready to go to vote, all in favor of the motion as moved by Member McCall, all in favor? And it passes unanimously, thank you.
Thank you for your care and consideration today.
Thank you, have a good day. And finally, our last one for the day, could we please have the agent or applicant for B 2023-028 please come forward? That's 47 and 51, and staff please teach me, Pendaguat Avenue, is she Penat? Pecanut, okay. Member McCall, say it again for us.
I'm not sure I can help you with that
Okay.
one. Can help you with Benninger, I'm not sure I can help you with that one. I don't think this is the last application of today, though, so just to not alarm anybody in the gallery. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so this is another consent application to recognize 2 properties that have merged in title. Staff have reviewed the application in light of provincial and regional city policies, finds that it meets all of those, and is recommending approval subject to conditions.
Thank you, staff, and my apologies. Can the agent please say his name for the record if he supported the application? Or the
Good morning
recommendation, sorry?
again, committee. Scott Patterson here in support.
Thank you. If there's any members of the public who wish to provide comments, and I don't believe there are, so then I open the floor to the applicant or the agent if he wishes to make any comments for the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just echoing the conversation that the committee just had, this is the exact same situation. 2 former existing lots that have merged inadvertently on title. There is conditions to require the Ontario Building Code assessment, and I do have concerns with those given the existing situation and what has happened. So if the committee would see fit to remove those conditions as well, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Member McCall, I will give the floor to you.
You may not want to answer this, but here's my question, and it is in relationship to properties that have inadvertently merged on title, and with regards to the building code assessment. In your position as a professional planner of long standing, do you think your client is going to get into some difficulty with either the building department or building code enforcement if we don't do an assessment? Again, you don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I acknowledge your comments. I'm not an expert in the building code by any means. The conditions were presented to my client. He did not note a concern with it. He's trusting my judgment on this. That being said, I can't speak to whether there would be any issues with the building code assessment of the two buildings. They are historic. They've been there for quite some time. If you drove by the site, you would notice that. So I don't honestly know if the building openings meet setback requirements. I trust they've been there forever, forever being more than 40 years. So I'm confident that going forward, it's an existing condition. That's all I can say.
Mr. Chair, based upon the response, I'm going to say that this is exactly the same thing before. I don't like the idea of properties that merge on title inadvertently, and this is just housekeeping. So I'm going to move that the application for Pecanout Ave be approved without condition number 4.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Member Hand a second, and do you want to start the debate?
I will start the debate. Same situation as before, and having driven by this and know a little bit about the building code, we have no issue with spatial separation here.
In the debate, just because my memory's hazy on this application, I don't have the picture. The new proposed lot line is the same as the lot line prior to the Section 51 merger? It was? Yeah, okay, that's what I remembered. So I'm okay with the conditions. So all in favor of the motion on the floor? It passed unanimously. Thank you. And again, apologies for the confusion last time. That was my mistake. Can I please have the applicant for B 2023-029, that's 15 Ellen Street West, please come forward, and when staff's ready, please introduce.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a consent to permit a consent for a lot addition. So the property at 15 Ellen Street West would like to sever a parcel 9.2 by 40.4 meters to convey as a lot addition to the adjacent property municipally addressed as 11 Ellen Street West. Staff have reviewed the consent for lot addition in light of provincial and regional city policies and finds that it meets all of those and is recommending approval subject to conditions.
Thank you very much. If can the agent please state his name for the record and whether or not he's in support of the staff recommendation?
Yeah, I'm the owner.
I'm sorry, we can't get your mic on for us, please. Sorry about that, sir.
I'm the owner at 15 Ellen, and I support the application subject to conversation about the Metrolinx requests.
Can you state your name for the record?
My name is Marcus Shantz.
Thank you, Mr. Shantz. If there's any members of the public who wish to provide comment, I don't think there are, so I open the floor again to my fellow members. Member Gundrum.
Through the chair, question for staff. I noticed that this is a Part 5 designated property under the Ontario Heritage Act, and that there was a related condition that Heritage Committee basically has to have something to say on the matter for this, all the conditions to be fulfilled. I just have concern that perhaps by dealing with this now at Committee of Adjustment, that we might be presupposing what the Heritage Committee may or may not have to say on the matter. I just thought I'd put that out there and get staff's comments around that condition regarding the Heritage Act. So.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. Through the chair, Heritage Planning staff were circulated and commented on this consent application. As there's nothing, no new development is proposed, it's just a shifting of the lot line. Heritage Planning staff had no concerns with the application.
Okay, thank you. And then follow up to that, matter still has to go before the Heritage Committee, although, like you said, Heritage staff have reviewed it already. So.
That's correct. I believe it still has to go to Heritage Planning, yeah.
Okay, that allays my concerns about presupposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gundrum. As no further questions, go to the debate. Member Hand.
Yeah, I'm going to move the staff recommendation, and just to satisfy David, your concern, there is a condition 6 that covers the heritage permit. In this case, I am supporting the building code assessment because there is a garage that's being removed and rebuilt, and you have to assess the proximity to the lot line. So that makes sense. I am not supportive of conditions 11 and 12. So if I'm able to move, I'd like to move the staff recommendation subject conditions 1 through 10.
Madam Clerk, were you able to get that? Yep, thank you. And can I get a second for Member Hannah's motion? Yep, Member McCall, second. Thank you. If there's any debate, no comments?
Sir, may I make a comment?
Of course, of course.
Yeah. If I may ask a question, I gathered from the previous discussion that this committee has denied Metrolinx these applications, and my question is whether anyone knows whether Metrolinx has appealed those decisions, because that potentially affects our timeline and costs and everything.
Is it the staff? I direct it to staff, or?
Yes, through you, Chair, I am not aware that Metrolinx has appealed any of the previous applications where their conditions were not included.
Truthfully, sir, the committee has been quite open to applicants requesting different, if you want it back in and you want to play it safe, like with this committee.
No, I'm ready to go, so.
Yeah, as is, okay. So then, safe for that. Put it to a vote. All in favor of the motion as proposed by Member Henner? Yep, Member Henner, sorry.
Did we get a seconder?
Yeah, we did.
We did?
Member McCall.
Okay.
Yeah, excellent. So all in favor of the motion on the floor? And it passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I please have the applicant for consent application B 2023-030? That's 83 Victoria Street North. And can staff please introduce when ready?
Yes, thank you, Chair. We'd like to deal with both applications within this.
Concurrently?
Yeah, concurrently, please. So 83 Victoria Street North with 87 Victoria Street North. Since their severances relate to one another. These applications were heard by the committee in January. The committee may remember these. There were minor variances associated with the severances as well. And it was to permit a overall development for 97 Victoria Street North. So there was a severance from 83 and a severance from 87, and then consolidating those with 97. What happened previously, the properties, there was a merger of the properties, and the decisions didn't accurately reflect the property ownership at the time of consideration in January. So the applicant has had to reapply to establish the lot lines the way they intended to in January. The minor variances are not required. They are in effect from what was approved in January, so it's just reconsideration of the consent applications. Staff have reviewed these applications and, as in January, find that they meet provincial, regional, and city policies and is recommending approval subject to conditions.
Thank you, staff. Can the agent or applicant state his name for the record and if he's support of the staff recommendations for both consent applications?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm Chris Pigeon from GSP Group, and I'm joined this morning by Joe Mancini, who's Director with the Working Center. We've reviewed the staff report. I will tell committee we have cleared almost all of the conditions, including the Metrolinx, so we're not recommending that the committee remove any of those conditions. The spatial separation has also been cleared by the building department.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So just to confirm, I guess I'll cheat and ask the first question. You would like the Metrolinx just to remain in?
It can stay in, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Just so we understand, yeah. Do my fellow members have any further questions? No? So I look forward to a motion to start the debate. And Madam Clerk, we can do one motion for both applications? Yep. Member McCall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In dealing with both of these applications, I move that both of them be approved as per the staff report.
Thank you, Member McCall. Can I get a second for the motion? Member Hanna, second, and I'll start the debate. If my fellow members remember, I said when this happened in January that they were going to be back because of the mistake, so I'm a little smug right now. But all in favor of the motion on the floor? It passes unanimously, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
At this point, can I please have the agent or applicant for B 2023-034 please come forward? That's 685 Fisher-Hellman Road. And can staff please introduce this application, or consent application?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a consent application to facilitate a long-term lease. So there's a new lot being created. This is a long-term lease for Tim Hortons and drive-through at the property addressed 685 Fisher-Hellman Road. Staff have reviewed the long-term lease or consent application to facilitate this in light of policies. Staff is recommending conditions, standard conditions that we will be applying to long-term leases now and in the future. Just a note, though, that when we developed the conditions, that we indicated that the owner would satisfy those. Staff would like to put forward that it could be the owner or applicant satisfying those conditions to allow the applicant control over satisfying the conditions where it's in their purview to do so. That would be for, particularly for the site plan, the lease agreement. And actually, with respect to the site plan agreement condition, it is a standard condition. Staff noted in the staff report that the site plan application to permit the development of the commercial plaza was approved, and a Section 41 agreement was registered on July 11, 2002. So staff no longer feel that condition is necessary. It was inadvertently included because it is a standard condition in our long-term leases. So staff is recommending that condition 5 be deleted, and that the other conditions state owner and/or applicant in terms of satisfying those conditions. So, in summary, the long-term lease does meet provincial regional city policy, and staff is recommending approval subject to those standard conditions with modifications.
Thanks for the, oh my goodness, I'm out to lunch. Thanks for the detailed explanation. I'll have questions of staff later. And can the agent please state his name for the record and whether he's in support of the staff, I guess the new staff recommendations?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of committee. My name is Bishwe Shinoda with Dylan Consulting, and I'm supportive of the new staff recommendations on this application.
Thank you. If there's any members of the public who wish to provide comment, I welcome them to move forward. If not, I guess we'll open the floor to the questioning period. So I'll go first, if you don't mind, Member Hanna. So just to clarify, staff, we're changing number 5. Can you just reiterate that again?
Yes, so condition number 5 is that the owner verify, or that the owner applicant verify in writing that the subject property has been developed in accordance with the approved site plan agreement, and if necessary, the site plan agreement is to be amended to include any required revisions and/or updates. I would point out the background in the report where we state that site plan application SP 0106 FGR to permit the development of the commercial plaza having 4 buildings and 209 parking spaces was approved, and a Section 41 agreement was registered on July 11, 2002. So staff is satisfied that this standard condition has already been satisfied and is recommending that condition 5 be deleted from the recommendation.
Okay, thanks for explaining. Sorry if I went over my head the
No,
first
that's fine.
time.
Yeah.
If other Member Hanna had a question, and I'm sorry for butting in.
And then I don't know if this is relevant for the applicant or staff, so I'm looking at figure 1 in the report, and then I look at the site plan in my package is, I think, 739. And I think that drawing is incorrect in terms of the location of the actual lease. It's oriented differently. And I think the figure 1 is correct. I just want to make sure we're dealing with the right area here. I've dealt with these lease agreements or consent for long-term leases as a professional planner in the past, and sometimes the applicant doesn't like it 25 years from now. They want to change things, but it's a weird configuration. Obviously, it's the building and the drive-through, but it doesn't seem to match the site plan on that page.
And the site plan, I'm just trying to, I see figure 1 in the staff report, but I'm just trying to see where the site plan is.
Pass that down. It just doesn't match.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So, Member Hanna, do you mind, now that we can all see, do you mind explaining what you're worried about?
Well, if you look at figure 1, the big square is the actual Tim Hortons building, and then the weird curvilinear thing is the drive-through, and you can see that they don't match. The building is not on the right spot.
If I may, through Mr. Chair, yeah, I do see that this figure has been altered. It has actually been just turned. But I do have here the figure 1 on the staff report is correct. And I've also printed the submission copy that staff has used to input into their staff report. And it does show the right shadowing here. And we have verified this with the landowner as also taken out from the lease agreement.
Okay, thank you. Just to follow up then to staff, normally you refer to a drawing in your condition, and in this case you haven't. Is there any reason why you didn't do that?
No, there is no reason why I didn't. I can't think of it right now. Typically, we do. As I said, these long-term leases are new reports that we're doing templates and conditions for, so it's a work in progress, and we typically do refer to a drawing in the recommendation.
What I'd like to be able to do is refer to this drawing in the resolution. I don't know how I need to do that. If it's a site plan prepared by James Way, I can't read and it's got a certain date on it, but I'd like to be able to refer to this drawing, just so we're all clear.
Yes, by all means. So I would word the recommendation similar to the other recommendations. So after the words in excess of 21 years in favor of Tim Hortons for an existing restaurant and drive-through in accordance with drawings prepared by James Way Construction dated.
I think it's August 29th, 2000? I don't know.
Sorry if I may. The site plan drawing that we use is just a base from what was approved. We just took that and edited on a PDF editor to show the shaded area. So the drawing wasn't actually prepared by, like the site plan was an old drawing that predated this application, wasn't prepared for this application. We just highlighted the area subject to the lease premises.
Would the proposed lease between your client and, I guess, whatever the tenant, wouldn't it have to accurately describe the leased premises? Like, how would you pay property tax if we're not even sure of what the leased premise is? How does the tenant pay property tax?
So subject to I'm not sure about the process for the tax, but subject to the approval of the consent, we'll prepare a draft ARP plan completed by a certified OLS surveyor. And that draft plan, as per condition number 1, will be circulated to staff, and they will then verify that this reflects the figure 1 as shown on the staff report. And once they do, then we're going to ask the surveyor to register that our plan. I hope that helps or answer the question.
What I can also recommend is that in terms of the drawing, it could be in accordance with site plan application SP, the one that's noted in the staff report. That would be the other option to include in the recommendation.
I like that. So I'm going to make a motion just for time that we recommend support of the staff recommendation as modified to include the wording that Tina just mentioned, also to delete condition 5 and throughout change owner and or applicant.
Madam Clerk, do we need to do that one more time to make sure we got it? Okay, then we get a second on the motion? Yep. Member Gundam second, and then Madam Clerk did, I want to make sure we have that accurately reflected in the minutes because we've made like 5 changes. Yeah.
Okay, so just I'll help to repeat. It's move the staff recommendation with, in the first body of the recommendation, to refer to the site plan application number.
I can repeat that just so we have that for the record. So it's SP 01/06/F/GR.
Perfect. And to delete condition 5, and for the remaining conditions to refer to owner and or applicant, where owner is stated. Okay?
So So then, so the motion on the floor, the thing is like we kind of did the debate a little backwards, that's okay? So we can, all in favor of the motion on the floor? As amended, thank you, Member McCall. It passes unanimously, and thank you very much, and staff expertise is appreciated as always.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Now we're on the last one, as Member McCall pointed out. I'm not sure. Again, I'm really confused what I was thinking 10 minutes ago. But anyway, so there's a whole series of consent applications here. It's B 2023 0-032 and 33, as well as applications for minor variance A 2023-102 and 103. And this is for 485 and 495 Huron Road. I ask that staff please introduce this application.
Yes, there are 4 applications before you, joint applications. So the first is a minor variance application for 485 Huron Road, 2023-102, and a corresponding consent application, that is B23, B2023-03T 485 Huron Road. The first minor variance is to permit an interior side yard setback of 1.5 meters instead of 3 meters, and this is to facilitate the commercial development proposed under site plan application. The site plan application has received conditional approval, and so the consent application would be to create this commercial lot as well. So those are the first 2 applications before you. The second 2 applications are minor variances to facilitate the development of this parcel. Address is 495 Huron Road, with the multiple dwelling. Requires 4 minor variances to permit a maximum number of stories in the base of a mid-rise building of 10 instead of 6. To permit a street line setback of 0 meters instead of 3 meters, and to permit a ground floor street line facade width as a percent of the width of the abutting street line of 20% instead of the minimum required 50%, and to permit the minimum percent of street line facade openings of 0% instead of the minimum required 50%. This property is zoned mix 3, which contemplates mixed-use development, and that's why those regulations are difficult to achieve with this type of development. This also, too, has undergone a site plan application and has received conditional approval, and then the consent application would be to create the parcel for the multiple dwelling, as well as an easement for shared access between the 2 properties, and an easement to the rear of the retained lands with the Natural Heritage Conservation lands for access. Staff have reviewed the variances in light of 4 Test the Planning Act and finds that they meet all 4. I would note that the property was inaccurately reflected or inaccurately indicated at 495 Huron Road as being zoned mix 2 instead of mix 3. It is in fact in zoned mix 3, which does permit a maximum building height of 10 stories. So it does permit the 10-story development that you see. And so the variance really does relate to the base of the building or the podium section of the building, which it will not have. It'll just be one building of 10 stories. Just to clarify that in terms of comments. And staff have reviewed the consent applications in light of provincial, regional, and city policies, and it finds that it meets all 4. So in conclusion, staff is recommending approval of all the applications and the consent application subject to conditions.
Thank you very much, staff. I can't appreciate that enough. Can the agent or applicant please state his name for the record and if he's in support of the staff recommendations?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Pierre Chauvin with MHBC Planning, here on behalf of the applicant Activa Holdings and in support.
Thank you very much, sir. And I'd like to assure the public that we have received written submissions that this committee has reviewed carefully. If there's any members of the public who wish to provide comments, I welcome forward, and I see you, sir. So just step up on your right over at the chair that the last 3 people came up to. And when you're ready, just state your name for the record before your comments, sir.
My name is Phil Garrod. Are you ready for my presentation?
Yep, we welcome comments. Thank you. We welcome comments. Yes, please.
Thank you. I am here representing my daughter, Alyssa Van Norman, and her husband, Nathan Van Norman. Alyssa delivered her first child yesterday, or they would be here themselves today. Their home is directly opposite the proposed development on the other side of the Huron Conservation Lands. Alyssa's letter is included in the report to the committee. Does the committee understand her letter and her concerns? I can review the letter if you wish.
The committee has reviewed the letter.
Okay. Her letter was posted on the Huron Neighborhood Community Group Facebook page as a petition and had 30 signatures within the first hour. And as of today, there's 117 signatures. Unless staff have received letters of support from the neighbors, it can be assumed the neighborhood is opposed to the variances by virtue of the 117 signatures. While staff believe the variances are minor, we do not agree. The sum of all the variances are not minor and would be more appropriately dealt with in a zoning application where notices and public meetings reach more of the neighborhood than a minor variance application does. And these things could have and should have been dealt with in the zone change application initially. Minor variances don't receive the same advertising and circulation as a zone change. The biggest concern is the height and mass of the proposed apartment building. Now, I'm kind of shocked that I just heard that it's actually zoned for a 10-story building. I came here today believing it was zoned for a 6-story building, as the report says. But I'm going to still speak to that issue. A 6-story building, as the bylaw permits, would not rise significantly above the tree line of the natural area, separating the development from the residential neighborhood on the other side of the naturalized area. 6 stories are much more compatible with the existing neighborhood development. 10 stories will dominate the skyline and overwhelm the existing low-rise residential neighborhood. There is no 10-story high-rises anywhere close to this neighborhood. Keep in mind, a tall building like that always requires penthouse structures for elevators and mechanical equipment. The 10-story building would be approximately 120 feet high, whereas a 6-story building would be much less. If the developer could build over the existing parking lot or the proposed parking lot with a 6-story structure, he could still maintain the same number of apartments. The proposal to be 10 stories may be more economical, but is not fair or appropriate with the adjacent neighborhood and the character of it. Alyssa and Nathan do not object to the severance, but with the extent of variances requested from the bylaw, which is a document that finds a balance between development needs and existing neighborhoods. In this case, with all the variances requested, the balance is tipped much more significantly in the developer's favor. The height is a variance that is of most concern, and this could have been dealt with when the land was rezoned, and I don't really know where you stand today, hearing the comment by staff that it is already zoned for 10 stories. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you very much, sir. Your comments are greatly appreciated. If my fellow members had any questions of the opposition, I welcome them. I don't believe there are. I now open the floor to the agent. I apologize if he wished to provide any further comments for the committee's consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess just to back up a little bit, this site was rezoned and redesignated through the city's comprehensive review of their official plan. And so that's several years back, and at that time, those regulations that are in place now in terms of the 10-story height that's permitted were established. As you've heard, we're not changing that 10-story height. These are just really variances, in my opinion, that deal with sort of the placement of the building and sort of the architectural details. We've gone through site plan approval. We have approval in principle. We're working towards final approval as we speak. This is a mixed-use site. It's within a node. And just to answer or address the comment that there is no other tall buildings like this in this area, there will be in the fullness of time. This is a node opposite Huron Road. At the intersection of Strasbourg and Huron is the complete node, and there are plans for more additional high-rises on that particular block. So for now, for sure, this would be likely the first, but in the fullness of time, as other community nodes have developed in the city, it will be a mix of uses with that is more dense than what's existing today. So those are my comments, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I open the floor to my fellow members that wish to ask questions of staff and the applicant. Yeah, Member Hanna.
I just had a quick question for staff, and I think it will also benefit the resident who made the presentation today, and also the residents who made a submission. 10 stories are allowed, but the fact that the building goes straight up and doesn't have a recess after 6 stories and then go up again, that's the reason for the variance.
That is correct. So the maximum building height is permitted as 10 stories. This building meets that. But with a 10-story building, the zoning bylaw requires a podium of a certain height. And that is the request for the variance.
If there's no further questions, I look forward to a motion. And as Madam Clerk pointed out, we can do all of them in one go. Member Hanna?
Yeah, I'm aware of the submission by the residents, but again, this particular site, as staff indicated and also the applicant indicated, was part of through the official plan review and also the comprehensive zoning bylaw review. There wasn't a site-specific amendment here, so all the applicant is trying to do is take advantage of something that's already there. 10 stories are allowed. I looked at it from the perspective of it's just the orientation of the building that's and the architecture of the building that's causing these variances. So I don't think there's going to be an impact. There would have been a 10-story building there visually no matter what, and that's why I'm going to fully support the staff recommendation.
I'm not sure if was that a motion, Member Hanna? I apologize. That was motion to approve. Okay. Can I get a second for Member Hanna's motion? Member Gundrim, second. So unless there's any comments for debate, thank you for your comments, Member Hanna. All in favor of the motion on the floor? So I'll pass unanimously. Thank you, Member McCall. Thank you. And so that application approved, Member Hanna?
Before we adjourn, I just want to thank, for the record, David Goodrum's contribution to this committee. He is leaving us, unfortunately, after this meeting, and he's headed to a lovely place in Canada, Prince Edward Island. So, David, thank you very much for your contribution, and you've been an excellent committee member.
Thank you, Member Hanna, and it is bittersweet leaving, and I have appreciated my time learning and growing on the committee with everybody. So, thank you very much.
So with the kind words, the motion to adjourn. Member Hanna and Member Sandos second. So all in favor of our motion to adjourn? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.